the British ice aircraft carrier that could have changed World War II. A floating fortress of ice, stronger than steel, patrolling the Atlantic. During World War II, the British once imagined an aircraft carrier made entirely of ice. Not just any ice, but a super-strong, wood-infused ice called Pykrete. A floating fortress that could patrol the Atlantic, unsinkable and massive, designed to change the course of naval warfare forever. In 1942, Geoffrey Pyke, a British inventor, proposed a radical solution to the Allies' mid-Atlantic vulnerability. German U-boats were sinking convoys faster than the Royal Navy could protect them. Pyke suggested building a gigantic aircraft carrier from ice, specifically a new material called Pykrete, a combination of ice and wood pulp. This material was stronger than steel in certain conditions, resistant to melting, and could float indefinitely if cooled. The idea sounded absurd, yet the British government took it seriously, launching Project Habakkuk, a top-secret mission aimed at creating what would have been the largest ship in history, made entirely of frozen ingenuity. The vision for Project Habakkuk was enormous. Pyke imagined a ship over 600 meters long, able to carry dozens of aircraft and patrol the Atlantic indefinitely. Unlike steel, Pykrete would not shatter under torpedo attacks, and it could repair itself slowly if damaged. Engineers theorized that by circulating cold air through the ship's structure, the carrier could remain solid even in warmer waters. The Royal Navy and scientists from Canada collaborated to test these ideas, building small-scale prototypes. It was one of the few times in history where a military project flirted with the line between science fiction and reality, aiming to make a floating ice fortress a weapon of war. The first real-world test took place at Patricia Lake, Alberta, Canada. Engineers built a 60-foot prototype of the Pykrete carrier, using a mixture of ice and wood pulp. They discovered that the material could withstand bullets, small explosions, and even summer sun, far outperforming expectations. Scientists marveled at its slow melting and remarkable structural strength. Even more astonishing, the prototype could float, a key requirement for an aircraft carrier. This small-scale experiment was meant to prove the feasibility of a full-sized carrier, and its success brought Pyke's wild vision tantalizingly close to reality. Pykrete, the miracle material, was deceptively simple. By mixing 50% water ice and 50% wood pulp, scientists created a substance that was 10 times stronger than regular ice and melted slowly, even in warmer temperatures. This gave it a strategic advantage. It could survive torpedo strikes, absorb impacts, and even be repaired if damaged. It was also cheap compared to steel, using readily available materials. For the Allies, it seemed like the perfect solution to patrol the mid-Atlantic gap where no air cover could reach. Suddenly, a floating fortress of ice was no longer fantasy. It had become a potential game-changer in naval warfare. The plan called for a full-sized carrier, stretching more than half a kilometer, large enough to carry dozens of aircraft, fuel, and munitions. To keep it solid, engineers designed an internal refrigeration system, pumping cold air throughout the hull. The ship would also be sectioned, allowing crews to replace damaged parts without risking the entire structure. The sheer scale of the project was mind-blowing. If completed, it would have dwarfed the largest battleships of the era, making a statement of Allied innovation. The concept drew skepticism, but the potential reward, a virtually unsinkable mid-Atlantic fortress, was hard for military leaders to ignore. Despite its promise, Project Habakkuk faced major challenges. Constructing the carrier required millions of tons of ice and wood pulp, enormous refrigeration infrastructure, and remote assembly sites. Maintaining a frozen hull in warmer waters was technically demanding, and any failure risked catastrophic collapse. Additionally, Allied priorities were shifting. Escort carriers, long-range aircraft, and improved naval tactics began to reduce the strategic need for an ice fortress. While the project advanced in secret, doubts grew. Could a floating iceberg aircraft carrier survive the open Atlantic with rough seas, storms, and enemy fire? The audacity of the idea collided with the harsh realities of wartime logistics. The Canadian team continued testing, constructing smaller models, and exploring Pykrete's durability. They found that bullets and small explosives barely made dents, while the material could even self-heal minor cracks as it refroze. Scientists marveled at its strength compared to steel under specific pressures. These experiments validated Pyke's theories and inspired designers to imagine a fleet of ice carriers patrolling the North Atlantic indefinitely. Yet, the logistical burden of scaling up, assembling, and cooling millions of tons of Pykrete remained a monumental hurdle. Even with success, a single mistake in the refrigeration system could have caused catastrophic failure at sea. Pyke's ideas also caught the attention of Winston Churchill, who was fascinated by the concept of an unsinkable ship. Churchill's enthusiasm brought additional funding and high-level support, though many naval officers remained skeptical. The idea of a floating ice fortress patrolling the mid-Atlantic gap appealed to his sense of innovation and showmanship. While traditionalists doubted its practicality, Churchill's influence ensured Project Habakkuk moved forward further than most would have imagined, making it one of the most bizarre and ambitious military projects of World War II. The carrier's design included airstrips on its icy deck, allowing fighter planes and reconnaissance aircraft to operate far from land. Designers proposed using propeller-driven aircraft of the era, taking off and landing on a solid ice runway. The idea seemed surreal. Planes lifting from a floating iceberg, cruising to intercept U-boats hundreds of miles away. The ship's massive bulk and reinforced structure could absorb attacks that would destroy steel carriers. Engineers also envisioned arming the vessel with anti-aircraft guns, creating a self-sufficient floating fortress capable of projecting power in areas previously inaccessible to the Allies. However, Project Habakkuk was never completed. Technical, logistical, and financial obstacles mounted. Constructing the full-scale carrier would have required resources better used elsewhere, and the war's dynamics were shifting. By 1943, the Allies had gained air superiority, developed long-range escort carriers, and improved convoy tactics, reducing the strategic need for a floating ice fortress. Despite the promise and ingenuity behind the project, Habakkuk remained a prototype, a monument to daring wartime imagination that never touched the Atlantic in full scale. The concept of Pykrete fascinated engineers beyond wartime. Its durability, slow melting, and resilience made it a material of curiosity for post-war applications. Scientists considered using it for floating structures, emergency shelters, and cold region infrastructure, although no project matched the scale of Habakkuk. The brief, intense experiments left an indelible mark on military innovation, demonstrating that unconventional materials and ideas could challenge traditional engineering and strategic thinking, even if only temporarily. One of the most remarkable aspects of Project Habakkuk was its scale. The planned carrier would have been larger than any ship built, dwarfing aircraft carriers and battleships alike. Its sheer size would have allowed dozens of aircraft to take off simultaneously, providing unprecedented coverage of the Atlantic. The potential strategic advantage was staggering. A fleet of such carriers could patrol areas previously unreachable, creating a floating air shield for convoys and challenging German naval dominance in the mid-Atlantic. Despite the ambitious vision, logistical challenges remained the greatest enemy. Millions of tons of ice and wood pulp had to be sourced, transported, and frozen into shape. Refrigeration plants would be needed at remote Arctic construction sites. Even minor system failures could compromise the entire structure. For military planners, the risks were enormous, and the benefits increasingly less critical as other naval technologies advanced. In the end, Habakkuk became a fascinating what could have been, illustrating the creativity and sometimes impracticality of wartime innovation. Project Habakkuk also highlighted the intersection of science and warfare. Jeffrey Pike and his team combined materials science, naval engineering, and sheer imagination to address a tactical problem. The project forced engineers to think about thermal dynamics, load-bearing capacity, and naval logistics in ways never done before. Even in failure, the experiments provided invaluable insights into material properties, influencing post-war research and inspiring generations of engineers fascinated by combining science fiction-level ideas with real-world applications. Some historians argue that Project Habakkuk could have changed naval warfare if completed. An unsinkable mid-Atlantic aircraft carrier could have disrupted German U-boat operations, protected convoys, and shortened the Battle of the Atlantic. Yet the scale, complexity, and alternative technological solutions made the project impractical. Still, the idea remains a testament to wartime creativity, showing that even the most outlandish concepts, ice aircraft carriers, and self-healing frozen fortresses, were seriously considered to gain a strategic edge. In the end, Project Habakkuk was canceled in 1943, but its legacy lives on. It has inspired books, documentaries, and discussions about innovation under pressure. The project is often cited as one of the most bizarre and ambitious engineering efforts in history, a reminder of what happens when visionary ideas meet wartime necessity. Pike's vision of a floating ice aircraft carrier may have been impossible at the time, but it still captures the imagination, standing as a symbol of human ingenuity, pushing the boundaries of reality. The story of Habakkuk also teaches a lesson about risk and reward. Ambitious projects can be inspiring, but real-world constraints, resources, technology, and changing priorities often dictate what is achievable. Even as an experiment, the carrier demonstrated that creative thinking could tackle seemingly insurmountable problems. Today, the idea of a floating ice fortress remains an example of visionary thinking ahead of its time, blending science, war strategy, and imagination in a way few projects have ever managed. Interestingly, Pykrete itself continued to intrigue scientists after the war. Its unique self-healing and strength properties made it a material of curiosity. Though no large-scale structures were ever built, it inspired experiments in cold environment engineering and floating platforms. Habakkuk remains a historical oddity, a project that blurred the line between innovation and fantasy, leaving historians and engineers alike to wonder how a floating ice fortress might have altered history if it had sailed into the Atlantic. The British ice aircraft carrier may never have sailed, but its story is a testament to human creativity under pressure. From Jeffrey Pike's bold vision to the frozen experiments in Canada, Habakkuk shows how innovation can border on the impossible. History often remembers the triumphs, but the audacious failures are just as enlightening. Next time you think about war strategy, imagine a floating fortress of ice patrolling the Atlantic. And remember, sometimes the strangest ideas leave the deepest mark.